and this frame is T. Now consider the frame with respect to the surface now, not with respect to the curve. So it has a T and a normal vector N, okay, and another vector G, which is obviously is basically the cross product of M and T. Now what is there a difference between this T and this T? So I'm saying that, okay, if imagine that this curve is the part of the surface. So the tangent is shared by the curve and by the surface both actually. Okay? So the tangent is shared by the curve and by surface. And I have a normal vector here and a, what do you call the binormal vector here. Now if the tangent is fixed for, you know, the curve and the surface, where could be this N actually? So N could be, I don't know, here, maybe, okay, I can use it like, and where could be this vector G? Okay, it could be perpendicular to the both, so that is basically what you call G, roughly. So G is, what do you say, N cross T. So you can imagine this, that on a point you have two frames. One frame looks like this, and other frame also looks like this, okay, in which the tangent is shared, okay, but the normal and binormal are kind of different actually. So what can I do? If the tangent is shared, I can always find a rotation. Okay, I can always find a rotation that if I take this frame and rotate it in such a way that the both frame becomes identical. Okay, or I can achieve one frame by rotating the other frame. Okay, one frame is frame with respect to the curve, another frame is the frame with respect to the surface. Pretty nice approach. So I can do what? So I can get this frame, say F, by taking this frame and multiplying it with the rotation matrix. What do I say? I can take this frame and I can multiply it with the rotation matrix by a certain angle. So if I explicitly write it, it's gonna look like something like this. Okay. So what would be that? So I know F and D. So B is basically, okay, 1, 0, 0, maybe 0, some cos theta minus sine theta, okay, and 0, sine theta and cos theta. So in other words, I can take one frame and rotate it so that I can convert one into the other. Okay. And now, what if I want to compute the derivative, the change in this frame actually? In other words, in the frame, we can also be kind of precise that, okay, what kind of change we are talking about. A change, I'm saying that, okay, when you are moving along the curve, how the frames would change their directions actually. Okay. So T and P multiplied by a bigger matrix, and that matrix is 0 minus k cos theta ds minus k sine theta ds. Actually, if I wish, I can, okay, and what? K cos theta ds 0 minus tau ds plus d theta k sine theta ds tau ds minus d theta and 0. So you're going to get this matrix. Okay? I can write this as the same matrix as in another way with a bit new notation. Okay? And that would be minus. What if I denote this k cos theta by a quantity kg, which I'm going to talk soon, kg, and kappa n ds, k sin theta, kappa n everywhere. So this is going to be kg ds. This is going to be 0. This guy I have to keep it as it is. Okay, no change. Plus d theta. And this would be kg g. This is going to be just kn ds. And okay. Let's call this quantity as tau g. It's not significant quantity, I can keep it as it is. Tau ds minus d theta. None of it is non-significant, everything is significant, but okay, at the moment the thing that I am interested in is this. If we are happy with this, and by d I mean this p prime, n prime, and g prime. Okay. By the way, now what is the matter conclusion? The matter conclusion is this. What would be t prime? What would be t prime from this, if I want to write it explicitly? Then I need to do what? I need to take my p and b and multiply it with this. If I multiply it with this, so it's going to be, okay, so it's going to be kg. Is it T and G or TGN? Okay. This, as per calculation of this guy, it's TGN. Okay. So verify this calculation. It's just simple taking the differentiation with respect to s. So the claim is that we're going to get this. So if you have this, then your t prime is going to be kg times this vector g plus kn and the kappa n times the normal vector of the surface. Okay? In other words, now this guy kg, this is called a geodesic curvature. Okay? And this guy kn is normal curvature. Okay? Normal curvature. So what does this equation is telling you? Think about it. Where does the t prime is going to lie? In, for example, this picture. So if t is here, the t prime is going to be something orthogonal to t. Okay? Where is it going to lie? I don't know. It could lie anywhere, but it's just simply orthogonal. So it's going to be orthogonal. So, I don't know. So I can just draw it in such a way that you may assume that this is orthogonal. So if it is orthogonal, it's going to be lie in the plane of n and n actually, because these both are also orthogonal to what you call t. So therefore, we're going to say that t prime can be resolved into two components. No, it's going to be in the plane of g and n actually. Okay, you can resolve it into two components. You know, g and n actually. So you're going to have this scalar value, which is going to be kind of the g component of the t prime, and that's an n component of the t prime. Now, what is the interpretation of it? If you have a curve on a surface, okay, which is other than geodesics, then this number is telling you that how much of that curve is deviating from the geodesics. How much of your curve, okay, that you are studying is different from Are you getting the point? Okay. And this curve is telling you what? That's the curvature due to the surface. So that's the real quantity that we are interested in. So in other words, if you have a curve on a surface, there can be two things that can be, and you are moving on a curve on a surface, there can be two things that can be responsible for your curvature. Number one, the curve itself, and the number two is the curvature of the surface actually. Okay, are you getting the point? So if you are moving on geodesics, this guy is there. If you are moving on geodesics, this guy is zero. This guy vanishes automatically. Because there is no deviation of that curve from the geodesics actually. Are you getting the point? So in other words, if you are moving on geodesics, you are purely moving due to the curvature of the surface, not because of the constraint actually of the curve. Are you getting that? You are purely moving onto the, you are purely, curving on a surface due to the curvature of a surface and not another things actually. So therefore, geodesics are they are pretty nice things actually. Are you getting the point? Because if you are moving on, so what could be the practicality of the geodesics? So you hear all the time this general relativity, that if you have a thing that is massive, so you have this, what do you call this, space-time fabric, okay? So that's your space-time fabric, okay? And you put a massive thing into it. So what this is going to do is, this is going to, kind of curve this space actually. It's going to produce, okay, how is it going to look like? So it's going to produce some kind of a bend actually. Okay? So it's going to bend, okay, it's not a good picture, but you can assume it that if you have, such kind of a frame and you put something into it, then these lines are going to, what do you call, bend actually. Okay? And so it could be a massive star, okay, or what you call this famous black hole thing actually, okay. So that's a very interesting story. Anyway, so you have a massive star actually, which is kind of bending this space-time fabric, and then the other thing that is kind of moving around that massive thing is moving on what? Basically, it is moving on geodesics of the space-time fabric. So, the geodesics of the bent space-time fabric. Okay, so what you are saying is that you have surface, mass is, what do you call, bending it. The other things that are moving around that circle are not going to move, on any path they like actually. They are going to move only on geodesics. The natural path, okay, the shortest path to reach from one point to other point in that bent area. You getting the point? Okay, so therefore geodesics also becomes an important quantity to study. Are you getting the point? Okay. So if I sum up, today's discussion, then today's discussion that we did is that classically, the Gaussian way to compute, and we'll get into that. We haven't done it mathematically yet, precisely, but the Gaussian way to study the curvature was to roughly just move around the normal and see that how the direction of the normal is changing, and you can know it actually. The other, basically, way, a bit more the way by Dow books and the carton, which is also in line with, it's not something opposite to the Gaussian way, but it's also something similar, but it's a bit more what do you call, sophisticated way, so that if you are moving on a surface, then you can possibly move on two kind of things actually. One, either you are moving on geodesics, okay, or you can move on any other curve actually other than geodesics. Then your normal is going to have two components. Okay, one component is going to be the geodesic curvature. You can in totality you can call it that's the geodesic curvature vector. That's a normal curvature vector. Right? That's a number actually, a scalar function. Okay, so in other words, the normal is going to have two components actually. Okay. One component is going to tell you that okay, you are moving on a path on a surface which is other than geodesics, and how much of that is curving actually. And the other component is basically telling you the real story that okay, what is the contribution of the curvature of the surface, okay, into the movement that you are making actually. Okay, so if you are moving on geodesics, that's zero. Okay, so that's what is basically the key things that we should do. We can go ahead further and do things, but we are leaving it for the next discussion. Okay.